Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Dr. Muhammad Sarfraz, Associate Professor of Medicines. And today we will discuss about thyroid gland. Two important diseases related to thyroid gland are thyrotoxicosis and hypothyroidism. Today we will discuss about hypothyroidism. Thyroid gland is the second largest endocrine gland in the body. It is a small butterfly-shaped gland located at the base of the neck. Thyroid is controlled by the hypothalamus and pituitary. This slide shows how the thyroid hormones are controlled. You can see here the hypothalamus release TRH, which act on pituitary gland, and from pituitary gland TSH is released that acts on thyroid gland, and T3 and T4 are released from the thyroid gland. These T3 and T4 bound to the thyroid binding globulins and albumin in the circulations, and the different manifestations or actions then take place on tissue level. As far as concentration of T4 and T3 is concerned, about 10 times more T4 is secreted from the thyroid gland as compared to the T3. Most of the T3 derives from the conversion of T4 to T3 by the kidney, liver and spleen. About 80% derived from the peripheral conversion of T4 to T3. And the T3 is 10 times more active than T4. This is a negative feedback that how the thyroid hormones are controlled. You can see here, as I mentioned earlier, the TRH act on pituitary, then pituitary, from pituitary TSH is released, and TSH is act on thyroid, and from thyroid T3 and T4 are released. Then the concentration of T3 and T4 gives negative feedback to the pituitary and hypothalamus. You can see here in this diagram that hypothalamus signals the pituitary, pituitary signals the thyroid glands, and then T4 and T3 gives negative feedback to hypothalamus and pituitary as well. As far as physiology of thyroid hormones is concerned, or formation of these hormones are concerned, the first step is iodide trapping. The oxidation of iodide by thyroid peroxidase converts iodide into iodine. Then this iodine is used in the formation of thyroid hormones. The iodine next binds to tyrosine and amino acids and form monoiodotyrosines. Then two monoiodotyrosines makes diiodothyronine, and then one mono and one diiodothyronine form T3, and two diiodothyronine form T4. In this way, T3 and T4 hormones are produced by the thyroid gland. Now we come to the etiology of hypothyroidism. As far as etiology is concerned, it may be primary. The problem lies in the thyroid gland by itself. It may be of secondary. The problem may be in the pituitary glands, or problem may be in the hypothalamus regions, and it may be tertiary. Tertiary is specific to the hypothalamic deficiency of TRH, and secondary is related to the pituitary gland. And the peripheral resistance to the action of the thyroid hormones is another cause of hypothyroidism. These are the major etiological factors in case of hypothyroidism. You can see here primary hypothyroidism, in which the problem lies within the thyroid gland. It is chronic autoimmune thyroiditis, iatrogenic include thyroidectomy, radioiodine therapy or external irradiations, iodine deficiency or excess, then different drugs, for example thionamides, lithium, amiodarone, interferon alpha, interleukin 2, various infiltrative diseases like hemochromatosis, sarcoidosis, and fibrous thyroiditis. Then comes the transient hypothyroidism. In this case, the hypothyroidism occurs transiently, and then patient may become euthyroid. So these include subacute lymphocytic painless thyroiditis, subacute granulomatous thyroiditis, postpartum thyroiditis after subtotal thyroidectomy, following radioiodine therapy for Graves' hyperthyroidism, and following withdrawal of suppressive doses of thyroid hormones in euthyroid patients. Then congenital thyroid agenesis, dysgenesis are defects in hormone synthesis. These all are the causes of primary hypothyroidism. Then the central hypothyroidism, in which TSH deficiency caused by disease of the pituitary gland, and TRH deficiency caused by disease of hypothalamus. Then generalized thyroid hormone resistance. The most common causes, three most common causes in adult for primary hypothyroidism are indicated by red ink, chronic autoimmune thyroiditis, iatrogenic, and iodine deficiency. These are the three most common causes of hypothyroidism in adult populations. All other causes of primary hypothyroidism I have discussed before. They can occur, but not as common as these three causes. This is again show the thyroid hormone synthesis. Approximately 85% of the T3 in blood is produced from T4 by a family of mono-deiodinase enzymes, which are active in many tissues including liver, muscles, heart, and kidney. T4 can be regarded as a prohormone since it has a longer half-life in blood than T3, approximately 1 week compared with approximately 18 hours of T3. T4 binds and activates thyroid hormone receptor less effectively than T3, as I have mentioned earlier that T3 is 10 times more active than T4. T4 can also be converted to the inactive metabolite that is called reverse T3. Thyroid binding globulin. Most of the thyroid hormones in the blood are attached to a protein called thyroid binding globulin. If there is excess or deficiency of this protein, it can alter the measurements of T4 or T3, but it does not affect the action of the hormones. So if a patient appears to have a normal thyroid functions, asymptomatic, but an unexplained high or low T4 or T3, it may be due to an increase or decrease of thyroid binding globulin. So very important aspects to be remembered. Then a brief description about thyroiditis. Thyroiditis means inflammation of the thyroid glands. As far as classifications is concerned, there may be acute thyroiditis, subacute thyroiditis including granulomatous thyroiditis, lymphocytic thyroiditis, silent thyroiditis. Then chronic thyroiditis include autoimmune thyroiditis. As far as clinical features of hypothyroidism, there are various clinical manifestations of hypothyroidism. There may be bradycardia as far as CVS is concerned. There may be constipations, menorrhagia in excessive bleeding in menses. There may be cold intolerance, weight gain, puffiness of face, leg edema. Because the symptoms may be varied and difficult to define, often simulate other conditions. Many people with an underlying thyroid gland may be completely unaware of the problems. So we have to differentiate from other problems as well. These are the basic symptoms. And now comes the investigations and treatment of hypothyroidism. Obviously, we need free T4 hormones levels, free T3 hormones levels, and TSH level in order to diagnose whether it is primary hypothyroidism or secondary hypothyroidism. As far as treatment goals are concerned, we have two basic goals: reverse clinical progressions and correct metabolic derangements. Options we have thyroid hormones, levothyroxine, that is T4, or combination of T4 T3. The varied research shows that there is no advantage of giving combination of T4 and T3 as compared to the levothyroxine alone. There is no extra benefit, so mostly we use levothyroxine to start with. The dose of levothyroxine is 1.6 microgram per kg per day, but it varies depending upon the age of the patient, having comorbid conditions, pregnancy, and myxedema, coma. In young adults having no other comorbid conditions, can be started with levothyroxine of 50 to 75 microgram per day. But in elderly populations and in those patients having coronary artery disease, we have to start 1/4 to 1/2 of the actual dose of levothyroxine, about 25 microgram to 50 microgram per day. And in pregnancy, obviously, we need more thyroid hormones. So if the patient is already taking thyroid hormones, we have to increase the dose about 30 to 50% of the thyroid hormones which the patient is already taking. So monitoring, we usually monitor 4 to 6 weekly until the TSH level become normalized. Once the TSH level is normalized, then we monitor the patient annually or semi-annually. Remember one thing, that we use TSH as a monitoring for primary hypothyroidism and FT4 for secondary hypothyroidism. Why this we use TSH? Because if the TSH becomes normal, even the T4 is high, the patient is asymptomatic, because we have to focus on TSH only, because in hypothyroidism when the TSH becomes normal, there is usually more FT4. So we should not focus on FT4 level, because we focus on the FT4 level if it is increased and TSH is normal. If we decrease the dose of thyroid hormones, then again the symptom will develop and TSH will be raised. So main focus of TSH is in primary hypothyroidism. And another aspect why we take TSH as a monitoring is that neither we need TSH below the normal range or near to the normal, or neither we need TSH high normal range, because both can cause cardiac morbidity, atrial fibrillations in the elderly populations. So ideally we have to take TSH or maintain TSH in between 0.4 to 4 milli international unit per liter. And in case of secondary hypothyroidism, we use FT4 as a monitoring. If the symptom persists despite the normal TSH level, so there are two possibilities. Either patient is not having thyroid issues, rule out other causes of symptoms, or there is polymorphism of deiodinase 2 enzymes which converts T4 to T3 in the brain. So if you have ruled out other causes of the clinical symptoms, then there is a possibility that there is polymorphism of deiodinase 2 enzyme. In this case, we can give combination of T4 and T3. Surgery is rarely indicated in hypothyroidism. Usually the treatment of hypothyroidism is medically. Surgery is indicated for large goiters compromising tracheoesophageal functions. So if there are large goiters for cosmetic reasons or they compromise tracheoesophageal functions, then surgery. In pregnancy, the pregnant woman with overt hypothyroidism should receive levothyroxine replacement therapy with the dose titrated to achieve a TSH concentration within the trimester specific reference range. Serial serum TSH level should be assessed every 4 weeks during the first half of pregnancy to adjust the levothyroxine dosing to maintain TSH within the trimester specific range. Serum TSH should be reassessed during the second half of pregnancy. Levothyroxine dose should be increased by 30%, and in some books it is mentioned that 30 to 50% at least at the confirmation of pregnancy and subsequently adjusted in accordance with TSH level. Now, the subclinical hypothyroidism is a very important aspect. In subclinical hypothyroidism, T4 and T3 levels are normal, but the TSH is raised. So guidelines from the American Association of Clinical Endocrinologists recommend treatment in patients with TSH levels higher than 10 milli international unit per liter. And in patients in which the TSH level is between 5 to 10, but they are having goiter or positive anti-TPO antibodies, these patients should also receive thyroxine because they have the highest rates of progression to overt hypothyroidism. So an initial levothyroxine dosage of 50 to 75 microgram per day can be used, which can be titrated every 6 to 8 weeks to achieve a target TSH of between 0.3 and 3 milli international unit per liter. Some books say it is between 0.4 to 4 milli international unit per liter. The Endocrine Society recommends T4 replacement in pregnant women with subclinical hypothyroidism. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists does not recommend it as a routine measure. Now, the very important topic is mixed edema coma. It's a complications of hypothyroidism. In patients with mixed edema coma, an effective approach consists of the following. We have to give levothyroxine parenterally. The actual dose is 4 microgram per kg body weight. It is approximately 200 to 250 microgram as an IV bolus in a single or divided doses, depending on the patient risk of cardiac death. Then 24 hours later, we will give 100 microgram IV, subsequently 50 microgram per day IV along with stress doses of IV glucocorticoids. Adjust the dosage on the basis of clinical and laboratory findings. And obviously other aspects of mixed edema coma like hypoglycemia, hyponatremia, dehydration, hypothermia should also be addressed and managed. Thanks very much.